Hello, everybody. Welcome to QuestCast. That's right. It's a brand new thing. This is loosely scripted. We've not done it before. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I already swore, so I guess we're demonetized. I don't know. Maybe not demonetized. I don't know how it works. There's like a thing where you're not supposed to swear in the first minute and a half of a YouTube episode. I don't know.
Just go Big Brother on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. My name is Patch, your ever humble dungeon master. I play everybody else normally, but today I'm playing podcast host as we are sitting down with one of our cast members for a little conversation of sorts. So, my dear friend, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Mai, aka Mai the Pirate. Do I have to say my full name? I don't know, but
you can say as much or as little as you want.
Bit of anonymity here. Hi, I'm Mai, aka Mai the Pirate. I usually play on the channel over on Quest Junkies and Redania Chronicles. I've done a few other bits of the channel as well over the last few years, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I've already forgotten what you asked me to say.
No, that's perfectly fine. So yes, we are here today to have a conversation with Mai, the chosen one of Quest Junkies, as the name went round for a little while. We're going to get into all the conversation about the journey you've taken in Quest Junkies, but also outside of Quest Junkies, because if I do recall, you are a content creator of your own regard, are you not?
I am. I try to be anyway.
You try to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a long road with it. I can tell you the whole history if you want, but we might be here all night.
Hey, I've got my cup of tea. I'm good. Let's go.
Well, if we want to go right back to the bare bones of it, fun fact, my first YouTube channel and content creation had nothing to do with gaming. I embarrass even mentioning this. I'm going to delete the channel straight after this. I did a vlog where I was the vegan pirate.
Oh my goodness, that's not what I was expecting.
This is back when I was like full-blown vegan, living in London, working at Game at the time, actually, funny enough. So the closest thing I got to gaming back then was when I was just info dumping at customers and trying to upsell and hit KPIs, as well as being a supervisor and shit like that. But yeah, I very quickly after that realized that I could not be arsed anymore. And it wasn't until maybe about, I want to say 7 years ago, that my current partner, my fiance, Andrew, he was the one who actually encouraged me to start streaming. So I've always been known as Myra the Pirate since I was about 3, because also I used to say, like, it's Myrit, like pirate, with an M. So it would always just be easier that way. And he encouraged me to start streaming on Twitch because he did a little bit when it came to music. I was originally a Minecraft streamer, and there's some really bad clips on my channel way back in the day where I'm just like, yeah. Hi.
I've got some homework to do.
Oh god, it's funny. Some of my old clips. I think I even have like somewhere on one of my hard drives my first or one of my early streams, including like streaming from my bedroom when we were living in Norfolk at one point. Because I used to use his PC whenever I used to go over to his house to stream. And then my YouTube channel, I decided, oh god, it's been about 2 years. I mean, the account is like a legacy account. I've had it since like mid 2000s, but I started making gaming content for that about 2 and a bit years ago. And yeah, really inspired by creators like Rasputin and Nintendo Life and Outside Xbox, and really like my initial love for wanting to create content about gaming anyway was when I had my 360 and I discovered Sent You a Message, which had Andy Farrant from Outside Xbox, and that was the first time I realized that you could actually make money or make a living or have a job talking about video games. I'm nowhere near that now, but it's something that I want to thrive towards, and something that I almost got to a couple of years ago. But yeah, so that's kind of my journey at the moment. I haven't streamed in ages, but I'm wanting to get back to it. Long story short, that's my content creation journey. I'm now focusing mostly on YouTube.
I genuinely love that though. Like we kind of had a bit of a similar thing. I certainly never streamed as made content as a vegan
very not creator. A vegan anymore.
Yeah, I am the furthest from vegan. We've been out for steak, so I know you're not vegan now. Like,
I love steak. I loved steak before I was a vegan as well. Just no dairy and eggs most of the time for me now because I will shit myself otherwise.
I mean, that does come with it. I've known you for long enough.
I mean, for everyone else, Patch.
Content warning, we talk about shit.
Talking about shit.
But yeah, when I started, I wanted to do YouTube. I remember one of the first people I really followed on YouTube was Markiplier, and he had, I think, 18,000 subscribers. Like, it was super early days.
How long ago was that?
Oh, this is ancient. Well, I'll put it this way, because I started up my channel shortly after discovering him, because I was like, this looks fun. I want to do this. I want to create content. And I remember, it was this room, but it was a totally different layout. I just had, I was sat on my bed with headphones on and a really shitty Acer laptop that was already too, underspec to do this. I had Fraps recording my game footage. And I used Windows Movie Maker to do all the editing.
That's what I did with my first YouTube.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I took the channel down. I don't think I did because I think I was locked out of it. But my original, because before Quest Junkies, most people knew me as Patch Plays, which was the second channel because the first channel was Patch Playthroughs, which is not as fun. But yeah, I started out playing the Slenderman games.
Oh god!
Not the original one, but it was the fan-made ones that came out. It was like a collection of 8, and that's what I started off with. And I don't mind talking about this now because it is fucking embarrassing. But kind of mirroring what you were saying earlier about the Minecraft stuff. My first video starts off with the intro and me going, "Ooh." Just so innocently. And I did that for a little while, and it was fine. No one fucking watched because no one knew who I was, no one cared, but I enjoyed the process. That's what always drew me to it. And then eventually I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this properly, Patch Playthroughs. Bit of a, long-winded thing. And then I got locked out of the channel, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just start again. Let's go Patch Plays. Then, I started doing that. I made a friend by the name of Patrick, aka Pat Toons, who did me some channel art, which was amazing. Did my first little Patch Plays logo, which I still use to this day. Being a Let's Play is fun, but I also think in a lot of ways, if you don't do it right, it takes out the enjoyment of playing video games.
So I don't really do Let's Play content because it's funny because this is something that C and I have spoken about so many times because C does a lot of playthroughs on
Shout out to C.
Love you, C. So my channel tends to focus on reviews and kind of video essay sort of stuff. Like I was saying earlier, heavily influenced by Rasputin and, I think people like Nintendo Life and said Xbox and PlayStation Access, people like that, big channels and Rooster Teeth, back in the day. So a lot of my videos are kind of based on that, and whenever I've done Let's Plays before, I think it's just because of my imposter syndrome and because I'm just the critic in my head, which is people. Whenever I have played and gone to edit a Let's Play, I did one. I started a playthrough of Breath of the Wild. This must have been 4 weeks before they announced Tears of the Kingdom and the actual date and everything like that and the name. And I was like, I reckon this month that they'll probably announce it. Why don't I do start a playthrough for Breath of the Wild, blah, blah, blah. I started doing it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of funny in this, but also who's going to watch this? This is going to be so boring for someone, which is ironic because I love watching playthroughs and Let's Plays and stuff. And I just have it on the background, just kind of oh yeah, this is chill. But when it comes to myself, I'm just I'm not funny. I'm not entertaining. Why am I doing this? I'm like that even with my video essays, so...
I relate to that so much because it's the same for me. Every weekend when I go to the house with Talia, 9 times out of 10, if we're not watching something specific, we will have a YouTube Let's Play on in the background. It's just our normal routine. I love watching them. But when you go back and you look at my Patch Plays channel and you'll see much like yourself, I started a Let's Play on Breath of the Wild at the same time I started a Let's Play on Super Mario Odyssey. I did like 2 episodes of each, maybe even 1, and I stopped because I realized I can't focus on enjoying the game because I'm focusing on creating content. Mm-hmm. So I quickly decided to like be very picky about what games I chose to do, and ultimately I ended up stopped doing Let's Plays. And I would have originally liked to have done like video essays like you do, but I got occupied with the stuff, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Well, I think that's the beauty of like live streaming, though, because I think that's why I got into live streaming. Like, I started liking it a lot, live streaming, because like, yeah, I started with Minecraft and I'd never really played Minecraft before that, and you know, playing it with mods. I was only playing it with mods. I was playing Sky Factory, I think, which I still obsessed with. Shout out to Sky Factory. It's pushed me to kind of like try and complete games or play games which not many people have played. Like, I've always loved indie games anyways, since way back in the 360 days. Not that it was that long ago. It doesn't feel like that long ago. I feel old now. It's made me, and also doing my YouTube as well, discovering more of my love for indie games. But it's also pushed me to complete games. Like, I completed Breath of the Wild on stream, and I'm really terrible when it comes to completing games because I fear that it's going to be over, or I'll never be. In fact, this is me kind of almost taking this word for word for my upcoming Baldur's Gate video, that I don't complete games not out of sheer difficulty, but out of fear that it will end and that I'll never get back to playing it, or I'll never actually finish a colossal task of playing the game, even if it's just a short game. But then there's also the whole kind of internalized misogyny, and also having worked in like video game retail and having, you know, certain individuals be like, you don't know what you're talking about, I'd like to talk to a man, please. And then my colleagues would be like, she's the one who actually knows what you're talking about, so you want to talk to her. And it's just, that's again another video I'm planning on working on. So, but I'm too scared to work on it. You know?
Oh no! I need to see that video just for the satisfaction.
I can send you the script. I wrote it 2 years ago. It'll be very different to what I write now, but I can send it to you.
Hell yeah!
Somewhere.
I'd be down.
Somewhere on one of my Notions.
Okay, so I suppose the next checkpoint, so to speak, on talking about this journey would be, how did you first get into tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons?
So I grew up primarily in the Outer Hebrides with a few years, you know, somewhere else, just in the mid-90s. But I was primarily raised in the Outer Hebrides, and there's not really much to do there on the islands. So growing up, whenever, you know, we'd have like a family night in, the 4 of us would just kind of sit down and play board games and just kind of play make-believe all the time. And me being me, I've always wanted to be an actor. I trained in musical theatre. I've been singing and dancing, or at least trying to dance, and been like performing since I was about 3, kicking in the womb sort of thing. So the idea of, you know, getting to play a character and play make-believe is always really great. However, improv has always terrified the fuck out of me. And it was something that I've always wanted to kind of dive into, like Dungeons and Dragons. So I first came across Dungeons and Dragons through, like, I've mentioned this, I have a YouTube video about this that I talk about my how I got into D&D, but, you know, for brevity's sake, I'll explain to you. Being exposed to it through media, like, you know, like Buffy, they've got like there's like an episode in there where they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, I think in season 7 towards the finale, and there's like a few other episodes of like Big Bang Theory and like other kind of TV shows that I've always been like, oh, that game looks really cool, this sounds really cool. I knew some people who played, but I was always told that I probably wouldn't quite understand it because there's a lot of maths involved. I'm assuming this was before 5e, where you kind of had to think about numbers and stuff. I'm still clueless when it comes to making character sheets now, a few years on. But it wasn't until I saw that Outside Xbox had started doing their D&D campaign with Oxventure, and I just completely fell in love with the idea of being a druid. I loved Merylwyn, which is Ellen Rose's character. Just having fun, creating chaos, but also telling a meaningful story at the same time, and kind of having those kind of mini episodes. I'd never thought of the idea of there being like a full-blown campaign or like a full big story that could be done. It wasn't until after lockdown in 2020, so I think it's like the October time, that a couple of actor friends and I, we all decided to start playing D&D over Discord. And yeah, so I had started my first character, I wanted to play a druid, but then I was kind of like encouraged not to by the DM, if I recall. But then I also saw that I could smash things and be a little dwarf and basically just be me. So I decided to be a dwarf barbarian called Ethara. And since then, the kind of like, I got obsessed. I played a few other characters as well between those. I've played a wood elf rogue called Isla, which I made, and then I found out that my dad used to play D&D 35 years before. His character was a thief, and I think it was an elf as well, a rogue. And the character was called Fredegar. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make it canon. You know, Isla's going to be my dad's daughter. And like, we even, at the time I was working at CEX, and I thought, oh, we're going to have it so like there's FEX, Fredegar's Extraction Exchange. You know, Isla always wanted to be a bard, but because of the family business, she was kind of stuck with being a thief. And she was a bit like the opposite of Athar in a way, where Athar was a little bit very me. She was me, basically, but a little bit more angry and dramatic. And then Isla was kind of a bit more reserved and a bit more the anxiety side of me. I played a few other bits. Originally, we were going to play Cortex. We weren't going to play D&D at all, which is that would have been a completely different path. And then, like, kind of since then, I've just kind of fallen in love with trying to find every system I could try out. Even if I get the system and I have no one to play with, I'm just like, oh, you know.
Hell yeah.
Typical.
And then eventually some dickhead from Yorkshire showed up in one of your streams.
My Breath of the Wild.
On Twitch.
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild. I remember it just like it was yesterday. Because I was like trying one last time to get Quest Junkies off the ground. And it was kind of like literally me saying, if it doesn't work this time, it's not meant to be. And, you know, I was rebranding the Redania Chronicles as a new campaign. I wanted a table of brand new people, like a real fresh start. And you were the first person that I approached about it. And I'm so grateful that you said yes, because it led to all of this.
I know.
Hence
I mean,
the chosen one title.
I do remember it like it was yesterday, though, because I also remember sitting in one of the streams. I think you were in one of John's streams at the time, and I was playing Minecraft or something. I don't know if I was playing on stream, but I was like playing Minecraft and like watching you guys play just to see what it was like, because I'd always wanted to play on Twitch D&D or like do an actual play, but we only ever played offline because a few of our players, they privacy and because of their jobs and stuff, so we couldn't really do that. I still have some of the sessions recorded for recap purposes, but yeah, I remember it like yesterday, playing Breath of the Wild. I think I was in the Goron city at the point, and I was talking about D&D, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'd love to potentially like DM in the future, but I've always loved to play on Twitch. And then lo and behold, little Quest Junkies pops up. It's like, oh well, funny enough,
I have been summoned.
Quest Junkies has entered the chat.
Yes, yeah. Well and truly. And I think let's get into your QJ journey specifically. Because, you know, at this point, you played a few characters, you played a few systems, you've done a few bits and bats. What would you say, I know you talked about Druid earlier specifically, but like when you come to create a character, I know there's a few things that you always keep in mind when you're making a new character, but like what are your favorite aspects of creating a character? What's the favorite like things you like to involve? Like I know some of the answers to these.
I have a rule for myself, whether it be a one-shot or a campaign, mini-campaign, whatever, or if I'm just making a character for shits and giggles. I like to play a character whose race and or class I've never played before. So it's kind of a bit to detriment to myself, especially if it's a class I've never played, because I'm learning on the spot. But also that's the beauty of TTRPGs, D&D, everything like that, is that it's all about living in the moment and kind of, you know, improving and kind of like reacting truthfully in that moment in time, but also be a bit of a knobby actor, to quote Stanford Meisner, acting is reacting truthfully in imaginary circumstances. So to me, that's what D&D is, TTRPGs, and when you're creating a character and whatnot. So let's give Jimothy an example. A bard Kitsune. I have a bit of a habit of only kind of playing like animal characters on the channel, mostly because I think, oh my god, they're so cute. And because I don't know, I just feel like most people don't really go for animal characters more often than not. I feel like there's always like a half orc or a dwarf or like always going to be some sort of half elf. Or I want to play Goliath again at some point properly, because Barb the Barbarian Goliath, she's only been offline when we played that in one shot. But with Jimothy, Kitsunes are kind of cool. So they have several tails, and with every spell level that I gain with Jimothy, I gain another tail. I'd never played a bard, and it was mostly because in my original game that I played in, we had a Tanuki bard called Chowder. And I never really quite understood, but I thought, oh, it's quite cute. Like they're playing a little pipe, and you can give like inspiration. I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. It's a nice little thing to add to. And then, of course, you got Dob in Oxventure, where I thought that quite funny. You know, play a little guitar, you could play like Wonderwall or whatever. It's like little meanie things like that. Then, of course, there's Scanlan. I'd never seen any of the original Vox Machina because it was very long to try and get into, but I'd seen the animated series, I think, at that point. I thought, oh, this is actually really cool. Maybe like I could play something a little bit like that. Maybe less fuck the dragon, but maybe he can have a little bit of anxiety issues, which is just basically me. Like the whole point where I'm trying to flirt as Jimothy, that's just Myra just being Myra. But I always think of more like, what kind of story can I tell? What kind of character? How can I make a real person in a story like this, rather than looking at the mechanic side? I look at it purely from like an actor's point of view, rather than from like a min-maxing player strategy sort of point of view. The decision of choosing a class is purely on making me think, okay, why would they choose that class? Because really, if you look back at Jimothy's background, his backstory and everything like that, I said in my backstory that, so between him leaving his family after thinking that he's the reason why they've all died and like they're all dead, he's been skipping town, and whenever he's been noticed, he just kind of like just moves to the next one. I always planned on having Rogue as a multi-class for him, because that for me would be a mode of survival. Also, his grandfather, Jimmy the First, complete swindler, complete criminal. Like, he's a rogue, but in like a wolf in sheep's clothing, or in this case, a kitsune in sheep's clothing. And yeah, suppose long story short, I think of like what the character and like the kind of mentality is. I suppose it's kind of like my method actor thing going in. But yeah, I don't really like the idea of just playing a character and then be like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, bam, 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 and think, okay, when's initiative next coming up? I'm all about the role play as well, but also role playing whilst doing initiative, you know?
It's interesting, yeah, because you take the approach of building who the character is and then allocating what fits best in terms of class. Whereas I know, like, I do something very similar. I know a lot of players will be like, I haven't played a wizard yet, I'm going to play a wizard, and then they make the character. So it's you know, like, I have tried to be like, oh, I'll make, you know, I haven't played a barbarian yet, I'll make one. And I've done that for one-shots, but I never really feel like I can get into the character. Whereas if I design who they are first, I find it really easy to slip into that. So, and I suppose it's interesting when I reflect on how I build characters, because you look at the characters that I play, it's funny because they inwardly share a lot of myself, but externally are usually the furthest thing from myself. For a start, 9 times out of 10 I will play a female presenting character. I'm more comfortable doing that. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it's related to my bisexuality. I am not entirely sure. It could well be that.
I've got a really interesting point on that, actually. So I don't want to cut your train of thought, but from a purely like actor's point of view, again, I'm going to show my the actor side. So you could play the worst person in the world. Like, I recently played Lady Macbeth, and in fact, you could even play as Stalin, for example. And of course, you're going to look at them and be like, they're a horrible human being. I'm not like that. But there's always going to be elements of yourself within a character. Like with Lady M, I know myself. I am stubborn. I am driven when I want to be. I am also very much like ambitious and things like that. And I know that I have selfish tendencies and things like that when it comes to, no, I need to have it this way. But that's also probably my neurospicy stuff as well. But I also know that I can be, in a positive way, quite calculating. And I have a lot of negative points as well. Whereas Lady M also has some, positive characteristics as well. So she's a loving partner. She wants to see the best for her husband, as well as like trying to make sure that their life's a lot better. She's also thinking about the greater good of, being a leader, and
for the greater good.
For the greater good. And I can see from that point of view. But yeah, she is always pointed out as a villain. Now, I'm not a villain, but yet I can see elements of myself within that character. So it's even the same with you. Whenever you're choosing characters or like creating a character that you think is so far away from yourself, but actually they're closer than you think.
Let's look at a specific character. We talked about Jimothy a lot, but I think the character you are most known for on Quest Junkies is another furry little creature by the name initially of Feronia. They've actually gone by numerous names as the story has played out, but I want to get into the concept of Feronia. Like, what was the early inspirations for that?
So I remember way back before making Athara, when I was trying to decide what characters I wanted to play, because I was even originally Athara was going to be a blood hunter. I wanted that, and then I was discouraged not to because of spells. I saw a lovely little homebrew race called Felice. And I thought, oh, that's really great. The next time I play D&D, like in a game, I really, really want to be this little like munchkin kitty. I really want to do that. And I remember when you and I were kind of going through the character stuff together, because I don't know, we kind of collaborated a lot for the initial start with Feronia, because I always get really anxious when it comes to making character sheets. Even now with level ups, I've got better. Especially recently, having to make 20 new character sheets for my friend for her work, which was good fun. That was really fun, actually. Chaos rolling, just let the dice decide who and what they were gonna be. But calling back to Hawk's Venture, I instantly was like, I want to be a druid. I want this to be my first spellcaster, and what better thing to have but a druid? So, I'm from the islands, I'm from nature and stuff. Even though I'm a little bit of a city rat. I love the idea of just like this little kitty cat being one with the forest and being able to create her. I like to think that you have you deserve a lot more credit than is deserved when it comes to the creation of Feronia, because again, you and I collaborated a lot on like the main base. You suggested a lot of stuff. In fact, I think, was it yourself that suggested Wild Brew initially? I know that with the gloves, I know originally when I wanted to be able to play the bagpipes or the pipey bags, you the one who said, okay, I'll allow it, but you have to have these gloves that you can't take off, but they will make you proficient in playing the pipey bags, the bagpipes. I honestly can't remember who. I will have to go back into the DM chats for the whole Wild Brew stuff, but yeah, I can't take all the credit for Feronia, in my opinion. Plus, as well, like, you're the one who basically created her backstory, because I don't really like making backstories, and I like discovering them along the way, because characters can completely change. Feronia is I've been very lucky that Feronia has been one of the few characters that I have where, actually the only character where I can come back to play, but she's completely different. Like, for some of you who aren't caught up, Feronia's back, but she's not Feronia, she's Elisich. So technically it's like coming back with a new character, but she has a whole fully fledged backstory already. Yeah,
I think, and the one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about Feronia, because it's such an interesting story to look at, as one that I'm really proud that we've both shared together. Because yeah, Feronia started off backstory-wise as a blank slate. And Feronia was just the name she presumed she had because it was on the cover of the book that she had when she woke up in the forest. And it was really fun for me to be able to prepare stuff for that. And the whole thing about the Feywild and the courts and what had happened to Feronia way back when, and for those little reveals, and the flashbacks to Feronia and their mum. and the introduction of Bury and all these little threads. And I was really happy with that. And then when Feronia went away and we started talking about eventually the return after, Lady Macbeth had been and gone, when you first approached me about changing this character fundamentally as much as we have, I was a little hesitant at first. The idea did intimidate me a little bit. I'm so glad we went with it because, like, when I sit back now and I look at this was a character who felt to me like they were who they presumed they were. They didn't really have a say in it. And it felt like not just them, but you were now doing this to decide who they are. Elisich is who they are deciding to be. And I think it's a really powerful story beat. And I'm really excited to see how this continues to develop. So I'm glad you talked me into doing it, because at first I was hesitant. I'm not going to lie. But
I'm just glad you let me completely rehash my character sheet.
Well, absolutely. But I think it's been so worthwhile. I mean, it's genuinely one of my favorite things about the campaign to this day now. Like, I was anxious about it and it ended up being a highlight for me. I love this character.
Thank you.
Want to learn more about this character. And I'm emotionally invested.
I think the big thing about I'm always constantly thinking of stuff like, I wonder if you could, this is just patterns in my head all the time. I'm always thinking ahead of things. But I know that initially when I approached you, when it came to the main reason, approaching you with the idea of her name being different, she looks different, she appears different, she sounds different, is because I felt like from beginning to end, or at least not beginning to end, but like from the beginning to my last appearance, Feronia had always been kind of thought of as the child of the group, being, she's just the piss taker, she does this, just the chaos kitty, when really she's not. There've been points in the story where after Connell left, when we were in Zundanarg, where, for example, Frike, who's played by Bridget, Frike's having a bit of a meltdown, a bit like oh my god, what's going on? And I at one point was just like, I remember Feronia telling Frike, and I'm thinking in my head, okay, I want to do this as kind of like, it's a bit of like here's a Xanax situation. She didn't have calm emotions. I can't remember what spell it was, but I think it was charm. And I wanted to kind of flavor a bit, but she had basically said to Frike, "Now look, I could do this for you right now, but I'd rather that I get your permission first. I can calm you the shit out." God, I haven't done that voice in ages. I
know. It's so long.
Where basically she's offering her anti-anxiety pill in a way, but if it's like, basically, if you don't calm the fuck down, I'm going to do this with you, like her or not. And kind of like, and I think that was the same episode where we were all kind of having the Wild Ones having a debate about what we were going to do next, whether we were going to go onto the Sky Carver or not. And I really feel like that was the first step of Myra as well as Feronia just being like, no, I can take a stand. Like, if I could be the leader of this group if need be, if we were going to do leaders, but at the end of the day, we're a democracy. But also, I need you guys to realize that I can fucking do this. I'm not just a little shitty child. I'm not just a chaos cat. Sure, I want to have like fun in life and kind of bring the light of things, and rather than it being serious all the time, but take me fucking seriously for once, Because I know what it's like to go through a campaign where you make suggestions and people just keep saying no to you. And I don't really want to keep doing that. And when I came back as Elisich, I thought, okay, yes, she is choosing to be this person. She's not Feronia, she's not Flora, she's Elisich. Yes, she's had a bit of a, I wouldn't say a glow up. She's had a bit of a rough time of it. She's,
a moss up.
I still fucking love the art that Pat's done, because I said to him, like, kind of looks like a Maine Coon now, and I completely forgot that Maine Coons look like they've got big beards.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is actually perfect for Elisich. She's just like fantastic. But yeah, she's gone proper with nature and kind of, I don't know. I guess wherever the fuck she's been, forever, how long? Because we don't know. Find out soon.
We will find out soon.
And as far as the rest of the Wild Ones are concerned, they just have a stranger in their midst, and Feronia is still missing. So it's kind of been nice to selfishly have this secret to myself, especially leading up to it.
It's one of the things that I'm really excited for, like, you know, this last arc of the campaign. Spoilers, the players are officially in the final arc. But, you know, an arc could be 10 sessions long, it could be 50 sessions long, it depends.
Next week, TPK.
As long as we get to episode 69. But yeah, it's funny because this is one of the things that I love about QJ is while I'm running the streams, I'm also experiencing the story for the first time, just like the audience. And there's times where I want to step out of the DM seat and be an audience member and like ask like questions and things like, you know, I want to know what it's like for Connell and for Frike to look at Elisich. Like, what are they thinking? What's in their mind? Like, they must know it's Feronia, but what?
Oh, man.
You know, it's...
Oh, that my first episode back. Jesus fucking Christ. I was so anxious. And also just like, as well as trying to keep it cool, I was also a bit like, I'm getting away with it. But also just like, anytime bloody Bridget as Frike just like, oh, just looks at her, just like, oh, she reminds me of someone. I'm just like, ooh.
Just a little knife in the heart each time. I don't know, I'm also guilty of it as well.
It's a knife, but it's also a bit like
I know that there was this thing, I think it was in the last session, where Aegis said like an offhand comment of like, oh, I hope Burry's doing all right, and your face plummeted. I was like, in the moment, that means nothing to the other characters, but
the
to
thing
you.
Is, that was also Elisich also just coming to the realization of, fuck, where could my brother be? Because as far as she's concerned, she doesn't know her dad's off in Wildmount. Her dad might have been taken off in the Reconvergence again. Who knows? Because we last saw him in Wildmount. We didn't, but you know what I mean. Burry could have been taken off to God knows where. And also the last time we saw him was at with the necklaces, wasn't it? At the Citadel.
It was indeed, yeah. And it also throws up a fun possibility that I've been teasing to the players. Because the group like is currently trying to, you know, in this like final arc, reverse the Great Reconvergence, reverse all the damage that's been done. Question is, if they do, will it reverse every convergence? Yeah. And if that's the case, what happens? Because I don't think it was ever fully clarified whether or not a convergence event was the thing that brought Feronia to Redania in the first place.
The first time. So,
you know, doing this, it might save the day. It could potentially drag you away again. You know, there's so much up in the air at the minute, and I don't even know all the answers, and that's the exciting thing for me. Like, we'll find out when it happens.
I mean, we've also had extensive chats as well about what's happened to... I'm just going to keep saying Feronia just for brevity's sake. We've also been, like, whilst we're, like, between me leaving and then coming back over my hiatus, we've spoken a lot about what she's been up to between those times. We don't know how long it's been. We don't know where she's been, and what has happened along the way, who she's met. But we also hasn't come up how she's managed to get back as well.
Yeah.
After being reconverged. Which is so great in the player chat, because I'm just like, funny about that. Oh yeah, funny about that. And I'm not saying anything else. I'm like,
yeah.
About that.
I can't wait for it to come up.
Just a lot of spoilers.
Spoilers indeed, yes. So let's move on a little bit, because I think that conversation about Feronia covered a lot of the questions I had for this segment. So when we're talking about like creating your characters, not just that, but also just performing on actual plays in general, like I want to know, are there any little like quirky dice rituals or things that you have? Like, is there anything that you can't do it without? Like, do you have to have a certain thing on your desk? Like me, for example, I can't function unless this little Kodama is on my desk. I have it next to my Candela Obscura dice. and I got lots of little things. I have. Sorry, my table is so messy right now.
Sorry, my life, babe.
I have Godzilla. Godzilla's always with me. Everything feels wrong if he's not there. That's going to make a lot of noise if I put him back. I'm going to put him up there. That's going to bug me for the rest of the day. You got any little quirky things like that?
Aside from all the shit all over my desk, if anyone's been watching since the first episode, or like the first few episodes anyway, I always seem to have a crochet or a knitting project with me. I even got to a point where there was a huge chunk of the first season of campaign 3 where I was knitting this massive fuck off blanket for my mum for her birthday and then making my own one. But yeah, I always have some sort of like knitting or crochet with me because it helps keep me focused. It's my arcane focus basically, and it keeps my hands busy. Otherwise I am just a bag of jumping beans. I am just fizzy Mentos in the cola bottle about to explode the nerves. Other than that, I tend to have some sort of like plushie or something next to me, but I always have a spare like random dice. For Jimothy, for Wildmount, I used to do roll for tea, which I would do little things and post on TikTok where I would I had this whole big, like the roll for sandwich thing, in case people don't know. I would decide on like if it's loose leaf or tea bag, and also what kind of tea and stuff depending on that. And that's what I would drink during the session. I would make a pot and have that. Feronia is obviously a little bit more loosey-goosey. Recently, I've been trying not to knit or crochet whilst doing Elisich, because I feel like with her, she is less full of like mobility. She's got less mobility. She's more stable. But yeah, so Feronia is definitely like filled with loads of mobility and she's very near, whereas Elisich she has a little bit of nearness where she does like makes like the silly little jokes like, come over here, darling. I don't bite much. She has like little jokey things like that, but she does come off as a little more like remote and stable. But yeah, so I try not to have anything with me with that because I feel like I need to have I need to try and be a bit more grounded with that. And I'll occasionally have something next to me in case I do feel like I need to have a bit of a nah with my hands. Mm-hmm. Other characters, I know that with Soleil, I always have my dice tray anyway for whatever games I'm playing, and I have used particular dice for particular characters. For Feronia / Elisich, I just kind of use random ones because wild magic, I have a dice set for her, but now since like episode 3 or something, I just kind of use random ones. For Soleil, I have a particular dice there-ish. You can't really see it. I have like a purple set of dice, which is from Tabletop Dominion, that I use for her. And I feel like because I'm playing on John's channel over at Phoenix Wacky, I feel like it's less like on the playground, but more like, okay, no, I have to be professional, I have to be focused. But then, I'm always doing free action, flip them off, sort of thing with Soleil. If I haven't got anything to do, bonus action.
So is there a moment, I'm not going to restrict this to QJ, we'll call this across your whole experience of playing D&D and other TTRPGs, is there a particular moment more than any that stands out the most, whether it be a story, impactful moment, or just a general experience? Like, what's the one thing that really stands out to you as like a core memory unlocked moment kind of thing?
It'd probably be easier if I name per campaign I've done, or at least like big campaigns sort of thing. So if I'm going to do a callback to Aftara's first campaign, I'm probably going to say, this is going to be completely out of context, but people who played with me will understand. So there was a point, this was before we named our group and got our caravan and our really rude talking donkey horse thing. We were fighting a whole bunch of gnolls. And funny enough, this was after I got reunited the first time with Carla Baxter, aka her future love of her life, aka went and had a threesome with him again that night, which was great. The first time. So they were fighting a whole bunch of gnolls. I think it was a bunch of gnolls. And she decided to cut the ass off of one of them. Or it might have been wolves or something. But basically took her big axe and just like cut off the back side of it. And then that's after that fight, we called ourselves the Decapitators. With Feronia, it'll always be muffin time. Always. I'm gonna say it's either gonna be, I would say like me leaving, but then also me coming back because there'd been so much build up I was really excited to see like people's like reaction and everything. And I honestly am so proud of that moment, because trying to keep it as quiet as possible for so long, as well as kind of like the surprise on people's faces when they think, oh, it's just Feronia coming back. And then it's like, she's got a different voice. She looks a bit different.
And even like just having question marks on the overlay to throw people as well. Because when we started and people noticed that, they were like, wait, what? What? New character drop? What?
I just remember being like, everyone just typing like, I've got a theory. And then it came to like, was it the end of that episode where I remember texting you, DMing you in the back chat, being like, I've got an idea for her to finally reveal herself. And it involves burning the notebook. Because there's a few things in that notebook, not just, you know, her stories and doodles and everything to do with Feronia and the prophecy of, you know, when Feronia meets the Mist of the Mountain. Mist of the Mountain? That's not right.
Mist in the Morning.
Mist in the Morning! Sorry, Wyatt. Mist of the Mountain, that's like The Hobbit or something. So I would say those moments if I'm going to cheat. Thara 2.0, when we all died, because I've never had a TPK before, let alone had any character die. Jimothy, really depends if it's Jimothy in the one-shot or not. I mean, Jimothy in the one-shot, you know, with Stink Cloud and just his amazing trombone.
Great moment.
But in the main campaign, I would say either opening night at the Lava Chateau, him and Marion, basically. And so far with Soleil, I always keep bringing this up. And it's fucking Mike's fault. I keep saying it's Mike's fault because he's played Fandelf before and he just kind of tricked me into it. Going into one of the caves and basically opening a door without listening in or anything like that, and initially killing Shez's character, Clip. I felt really bad about it.
Yeah.
So
Shez just joined Chesenta, so I'm playing with Shez now, which is great.
He's great. I love Shez.
He nearly died in his first episode. It was wonderful.
No, he's got a habit of doing that. But with the like other kind of TTRPG moments, I would say probably GMing for the first time, and that wasn't on stream. I mean, thanks to QJ, my love for tabletop for one pagers ignited when I played Honey Heist. I was nervous as fuck playing it the first time. Second time, chaotic as anything with my Polar Bear Sunshine. But the first thing I actually GM'd, which was completely last minute, I play on every other Tuesday night with my off-stream friends. And most of them I used to play in my first campaign with. We're kind of playing a little bit like a semi kind of laid back, cozy, but also there are fucking stakes in this campaign where I play like my little wizard Saiyan, aka Kaelin's protege. But yeah, so we basically didn't have a full roster of players that night, so there's only 3 of us, and decided to change it up. And I last minute, after being encouraged lovingly by Lottie and Holly to run something, so I was like, okay, Goblin Punks, because I just played that on John's channel not that long before, and that was really good fun. And it's just not having anything, pulling things out my ass, not really, and just kind of like thinking of names and just kind of reaching things out of my brain and things that I've learned from you or John or just in general watching TTRPG actual plays was really great. It was a nice like stepping point to then eventually doing Fuck Up, because before I did Fuck Up, Feronia's Familiar Fuck Up, I'd gone to UK Games Expo, and that was another time. Got to meet Grant Howitt again, which was great. Decided again, it was a Lottie, because I was staying with her. She was like, all right, tomorrow and Sunday you're going to be running a game for us. I'm like, spent the entire day at Games Expo trying to find little modules for D&D, but then last minute I decided, no, fuck it, I'm doing Honey Heist, and we're setting it in the town of Maple, and it's the bi-weekly breakfast festival, and you know, they came from there, and then that's how the town of Maple appeared for Familiar Fuck Up as well. So those are a couple core moments. I mean, to me, I think I'd be a very different person if I didn't dive into the world of playing TTRPGs, because really this is the closest thing to acting that I'm doing right now, and I think I kind of prefer doing this now than acting, which is weird.
I completely agree. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. I didn't think I'd be any good at it. But this is kind of me making up for that now. I will throw onto that because the name wasn't mentioned, but is always one of my fondest memories on Quest Junkies. Evelyn Pirelli.
Fuck, I forget about Evelyn. Yeah, Evelyn was. Actually. So if we're going to be talking about vampire, her introduction, but it's kind of topped and tailed in a way because it's her introduction as well as the last episode that we did, because introducing the Diablo Rising that she had done. Spoilers, but that's why she is a Hikata with many other skills that don't belong to her clan. And to be honest, I really, really enjoy the system of Vampire. I've been really fortunate. Fuck it, that's another memory as well. Why am I not mentioning this? Beginning of this year, playing It's Dangerous to Go Alone. That was so fun. Like, that's such a good system. Okay, guys, if you've never played It's Dangerous to Go Alone and you love Zelda, or you just want to try and play a system that is fun, you don't have to stress out too much and just kind of like, just go and check out the one shot that Pat did, or two shot rather. We were really lucky to, this is a mini promo session, we were really fortunate to have Andrew Ferguson, who made the game and did art, play with us, and he's just a lovely guy anyway. He's also got another couple of things coming out, but that was really good fun. But yeah, Evelyn Pirelli, she's really good fun. I just loved our dynamic because she also, with Evelyn, a lot of my Lady Macbeth was taken from her, but also a lot of I draw a lot of from her into Elisich as well. But
interesting.
So in the terms of like the steady thinking and the circumscribing, yeah.
I mean, just as a testament to you as a character creator in general, like, we haven't seen Evelyn for a long time, but the impact that she made for most of the Cybervamps miniseries that we did with Bridget,
really,
we were convinced Evelyn was the big villain. We were convinced.
I tell you, if Bridget, I mean, I said to Bridget, hey, if you want me to come back, I will.
The amount of times me and Maddie were swapping, exchanging theories, like, fucking Evelyn Pirelli, she's back again, god fucking damn it, that fucking bitch. We were convinced.
Just waiting for me to pop up.
We were a little disheartened when you weren't, but, maybe she is. Maybe she's the architect of everything, and we just haven't got to that
married
yet. Exactly.
Now that she's married, she's our final form.
I haven't spoken to Bridget about this yet, but it's something that I am going to bring up at some point. I would very much like to explore, like, the first meeting of Evelyn and Lucian in some sort of prequel thing. I think that would be a really interesting story to tell.
I feel like you took her drinks order, or she took your drinks order, like, instead of whatever, and be like, that fucking bitch. Like, it wouldn't be coffee, but, be like, that fucking bitch took my, I don't know, Parisian whore's blood cocktail. How dare she?
I mean, the thing is, Lucian's the inside man, so he wouldn't, if he learned that your name was Evelyn Pirelli, he would immediately know that, okay, the Pirelli crime family is literally like, this is red flag, fucking red flag. But that would be really fun to explore. So if you're interested at some point.
I'll speak to my people and we look at my diary and stuff.
We can all do the Evelyn pose, which I do a lot. I do a lot.
I tell you what, though, the one thing about Evelyn is that, I mean, you guys, completely out of my comfort zone. I'm a little gremlin, and I really find it really difficult to kind of like get in touch with like my sexuality, like sexy side sort of thing. So it reminded me so much of when I did a play a few years ago where I played a dominatrix. Funny enough, I did a play called Balcony back in drama school, and it just reminded me of that. But then also like having to come on and be like, I am sexy and try not to get all flustered. Like my whole Jimothy stuff was fun but scary because I'm doing it in front of my friends, and it's just like,
it just shows your capabilities as an actor, though, like showing the range of going from Evelyn, so sexy, so appealing to the world,
half naked on stage,
all the way from that to,
all right, shit cunts, listen up here, I got fucking wild brew, you bastard. It's muffin time.
But even then I didn't even say it in that voice, but yeah. God.
But no, props to you for having the range to fucking tell all these amazing characters and
Dankeschön.
and leave people wanting more, because I want to see more of all these characters. So it's clear from all of this that aside from everything else, at heart you are a storyteller. Whatever medium it is, whether it be TTRPGs or video essays, you're a storyteller. So what I'd like to ask you is your time on Quest Junkie specifically, or your time on Phoenix Iwaki, or like your time with TTRPGs. Do you think that has had a big effect on how you tell stories?
Yes, but also, and not to sound pretentious, but storytelling is in my blood. Growing up in the Outer Hebrides, stories were always and have always been told by mouth. They've been handed down by word of mouth, by songs, and not many been written down. So one thing that I've always learned from my papa, God rest his soul, he would always tell me stories. He'd always be telling me like little silly jokes, or I call them oxymorons, like I see, said the blind man, I know, said the dummy, things like that, So my papa had always been the person to tell stories, and I'd always be wanting to know about the stories. And there's loads of like different stories back at home, which is why like I want to do a mini campaign or a campaign based on the stories from the Hebrides. But I would say having that as like a core foundation has definitely helped me evolve and appreciate storytelling more alongside playing TTRPGs, because I've always had a difficulty with allowing myself to tell these stories, or just say that yes, you have permission to be different, or you have permission to allow yourself to kind of like show other people how you are, or like tell the story of the character you want without giving a damn, without caring what other people think. And I definitely think that playing on Phoenix Iwaki, playing on Quest Junkies especially, that I just had the encouragement. I've always been apprehensive and kind of always questioning myself, and since being on both channels, it's encouraged me to actually get over my imposter syndrome in a way, to tell stories from my point of view, either as a character or as...
That's very
say that I still
heartwarming.
don't get all panicky before, but yeah, it's true.
That's very heartwarming for me to hear, because all I really want for you and the rest of the people in QJ is just to give you the space to do that. So I'm very grateful that is successful. I can draw a lot of familiarity to that. I never really considered myself a storyteller, despite the fact that I spent the majority of my teenage and adult life as a musician, writing music, writing stories and music. I never really considered myself a storyteller. And when I realized that I quickly realized why. And similarly to yourself, it's because of my granddad. Sadly, no longer with us. We lost him a few years ago to a road traffic accident. But when I grew up, and he used to tell me the most fucking absurd stories, and you knew that they were not true, and he was making shit up.
Yeah.
But the charisma that he had telling you these stories, you would believe him. Like, he could tell you the sky was like fucking, I don't know, indigo, and you would believe him. Like, you would be like, I'm looking at it and it's blue. But you know what? I kind of, because like, for example, there was...
I love that. I was going to say, like, what I love that the difference is that my papa would tell me about his stories being in Korea and like being like the army and things like that, and like not having shoes while he went to school. He'd always be told off if he wore his shoes when he was playing football because they were his good Sunday shoes, being a child of 14. So
my granddad was in Korea as well.
So if you saw a Roddy McDonald, Roddy red tie.
But like, for example, there's so in the town where I live, like just on the hill, like there is a couple of old towers. They're locally known as the salt and pepper pots because they look like salt and pepper pots. But they're like, I don't know the full story of them. But when I was growing up, he used to tell me that the salt pot was it was called Kelly's Castle because we were the Kelly family. And the story he used to tell me was that once upon a time there was a giant that lived at the top of this tower, and his name was Rombold, which is like part of a actual local legend in this town from ancient times or whatever. I don't know the full story again of Rombold, but he used to say that Rombold was this giant, and he used to terrorize the people of our town for generations. And my granddad, when he was young, he was like, no, you know what, I've had enough of this. And he lured him out of the tower. He lured him out of the tower, and he snuck up the tower while Rombold is outside looking for him, and he pushed a boulder onto his head, killing him stone dead. And that's why they named it Kelly's. God. Exactly. But I didn't know that.
Granddad's a murderer.
Exactly. He fucking murdered a giant. But you know what? He's telling me a cool ass story. So, and I believed him to the point where I was in my last year of junior school, and I argued with my teacher because we were talking about these buildings, and I was like, that's not the fucking history of it.
School? You mean like primary school?
Yeah, so 11? Yeah. I still believed it then. I had to learn about it in school to learn that he was lying.
Oh no. But that was a fun conversation.
Oh, I was mortified in school, but you know what? Like, it was funny when I look back on it. But that just goes to show you, like, I don't know if it's just that generation. Like, I suppose when you don't have all the luxuries that we have nowadays, like the internet and satellite television and things like that, like, how do you learn about stuff? You have to tell stories.
I was saying this the other day to one of my work colleagues, and we're of the generation where we were the first to kind of grow up with mobile phones and the internet, and we were also the last to kind of not have it as well. Like, I remember when this is even like in the mid 2000s, I've got to admit this. Mind you, I also grew up on an island. I remember my sister and I running around in the garden with duvets, just pretending to be stupid fuckheads, like just doing whatever and playing make-believe.
I used to collect insects when I was a kid.
That was my Pokemon of you.
I would spend literally, before Pokemon was a thing, I would be out in the back garden out there, and I would be collecting. I used to call them maybes.
Did you do snail races? Because that's what I used to do.
No,
we used to have snails growing up and down. We had these two. My dad built in the back garden, little steps going down, little kind of bit, and then the steps going up into like the main grassy bit of the garden. And my dad would have he built like these red bricks all around it, and they'd always be like in between the bricks. You'd be going all over the place, kind of like. Yeah, loved snails when I was younger. Always have snail races.
When it comes to storytelling, like we've just been talking about, what is it you think, in your opinion, about TTRPGs and specifically actual plays, like what we create? What is it about them that you think has the capability to resonate with audiences so much? Like, I'll give you an example, like, everyone knows my obsession with EXU Calamity, right? People remind me all the time I watch it most weeks. I do, because it's fucking perfect. Why has that had such an effect on me? Like, in your opinion, like, what is it about actual plays that is so engaging from a storytelling perspective?
Probably relationships. That's definitely the first thing that comes to mind. Relationships, and also being able to tell a story, but also being able to not be too serious at the same time. Although after watching Calamity, I'm still goosebumps about it. I know that a lot of people, this is going to be kind of a bit of a controversial take here, but a lot of people love Critical Role, and I don't see the hype, personally. I mean, I've watched the animated series, and I started watching Vox Machina, and I started watching a little bit of Mighty Nine. I liked the animated series, because, they're excellent actors, they're excellent voice actors, the characters are great, but I actually prefer the moments where it's a little bit memey, but not too memey, which is why I like that Sam Riegel has that range. For example, he's able to kind of be the comedic. I mean, a lot of them within the party, a lot of the group, they do have the balance of, being the comic relief, but also, oh my god, hit you like a ton of bricks. I think that's probably why I like Oxventure so much, because they're all a little bit like hard, but then they have times where, like, okay, well, shit's hitting the fan. I think it's probably because, Johnny, I can never pronounce their last name, Johnny Ciardini. They are a fantastic DM in my books, and would love to work with them in the future. Who knows? But yeah, for me, it's all about relationships, but also having fun and not. I mean, I understand that like actual plays are a safe space, but also it's not a therapy session at the same time. Because I mean, that's something that I learned from drama school as well. Like when we did all these kind of like, sense memories and intimate moments and things like that. Like, because I studied at Giles Forman Centre for Acting, a lot of like method acting heavy, the kind of daughter school of drama centre. The sessions we were doing there were not meant to be therapy, but I think a lot of people kind of treat as such, as well as D&D and TTRPGs. It's good to have a safe space, it's good to have your safety tools, but again, at least this is what I want to do. I want to be at a table where I'm playing with my friends, telling an incredible story, having a nice time, but also being able to be in a safe space where you can go through difficult moments, but know that at the end of it, you're not going to be like beating yourself up over it and questioning what you did during it. But yeah, for me, long story short, it's relationships, but also being able to have a lighthearted time along with the dark times and not to take yourself too seriously. I feel like a lot of people are going to come at me about Critical Role, but I don't care.
No. You know what? Like, I think, I'm a Critical Role fan. Do I watch it as actively as I used to? No, I don't. Because my personal tastes have expanded. Because Critical Role was my first entry into professional actual play, if we're going to give it a label. And I had a very special connection with the Mighty Nine campaign, especially I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. Particularly Liam O'Brien's portrayal of Caleb Widogast is that will always have a profound effect on me. I got to meet him in last October at MCM, and I got to ramble at him for about 60 seconds. I don't know what the fuck I said. He probably thought I was crazy. I don't know. But that was an unforgettable experience. Do I prefer Dimension 20? Yes, I do. I'm happy to say that.
I finally started watching it. Well, I haven't got Thingy anymore, Dropout, but I was really enjoying Fantasy High. In fact, I think that's probably the whole reason why I like Calamity so much, is because Brian Lee Mulligan, not only is he a handsome lad, but also he's, oh my God, his brain.
Yeah, so Brennan, in my opinion, is the ultimate DM or GM because, he fully embodies the rule of cool. I have seen him be presented with ridiculous ideas, and he's like, not only does this sound amazing, but you know what? It makes fucking sense. Do the thing. Let's see what happens. I want to see what happens. And I've seen him as a player see other DMs do that, and him being like, holy shit, that's amazing. I want to start doing that. People talk about the Matt Mercer effect and seeing as this, he's the top of the mountain, he's the ultimate DM, and I know he hates
see why,
that.
But also
absolutely. I know he hates that because he doesn't like being viewed as this, omnipotent being at the top of the mountain that everyone strives to be. He just has his own way of telling stories. He's just a guy. He's a very handsome, wonderful guy. But when I look at Matt, I don't see him as this omnipotent being. I see him as a terrific GM, without question. You can't tell me he's not amazing at what he does.
World building.
I relate to Brennan more because Brennan, Matt has some incredible ideas and the way he weaves his stories together. But when I look at that, I feel like that is above my pay grade. I know my limits, and I'm not that good at this particular thing that he does. When I look at Brennan doing the same thing, the way that he presents his GMing makes it more relatable, which makes it more achievable, which makes me feel like I can do that thing, if that makes sense.
I feel like with Brennan, and this is going to be a massive compliment to she's my best friend, but also she's my DM, lovely Holly. She's very much more a D20 fan. Whenever I play with her, it's almost kind of like she brings particular mechanics, or she'll think of something on the spot and be like, okay, yeah, which makes me think of the likes of Brennan Lee Mulligan. And I just love that, being able to kind of he does it. From what I've watched of Fantasy High, there are some really tense moments. There are some big ass battles. I mean, you look at the one in the skate park, for example, where they have the big pavement golem and everything like that, and meets the dad, and you have those moments, but also it's fucking hilarious, some of the things that just happen in it. So that's, to me, like, that's a nice nuance of being able to focus. This is what's happening. There's some shit we need to get done, but also they have moments where it's it's funny. You got the corn cuties, for example. I think that also lends to what kind of table they have on top of that, because you could have an excellent table but not a very accommodating DM or GM, or you can have like an excellent GM and DM, or you can have players which don't mesh or match together whatsoever.
So let's say that there is someone out there watching this right now, hello person, who is getting into this crazy world of actual play in TTRPG for the very first time. Someone's like, okay, this all sounds amazing. I want to experience the cool shit these two chuckle fucks are talking about. Like, what do I do? Do you have any like advice for a newbie, basically, that's getting into this crazy world that we inhabit?
See, I don't know. I mean, like, I was quite lucky that you just, rocked up into my stream that day, because I don't know, maybe I manifested saying, I really want to do this on Twitch. But I suppose it's kind of like just putting yourself out there, not just in the sense of like joining communities like Quest Junkie, and not just like joining communities like that, but also signing up for things like I auditioned for a actual play podcast recently. I didn't get accepted, but that's fine. I put myself forward and I got over the imposter syndrome and just kind of like went, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And I'm really, really proud of myself for applying. It is a matter of just saying, face the fear and fucking do it anyway. At the end of the day, you're probably worrying more than you need to about it. I should probably definitely take my own advice for this, but
same.
Yeah, I mean, and also like don't worry about like the size of the community either that you're applying for, because I mentioned briefly earlier that I got close to working on a YouTube channel and stuff in like the gaming kind of area. I don't know how far I got, but I think I got pretty close to the last stages, or the last stage, I don't know, but they're pretty big channel, and I was hooing and hawing about whether or not I felt worthy enough, I was good enough to do it. I applied, I went through the interview process, and they had about 1,000 or a few hundred applicants. So it's a matter, if you don't try, then you won't do, if you know what I mean. It's like what I always say, it's a bit of like a paraphrase of what my great grandmother used to say. Don't ask, don't want. Don't ask, don't get.
Sound advice. Yeah. So, folks at home, do the thing. You want to do the thing? Just fucking do the thing. All right.
Just fuck the fear. Peg the fear, and do it.
Peg the fear. Specifically, peg it.
Yeah. Peg it.
In what connotation of pegging are we determining here?
Oh,
Oh god.
This is the Myra you came for, guys.
This is the Myra everyone comes for. Wait, what?
Damn it.
So we've talked about a lot here. We've talked about your journey from not just a perspective of being part of Quest Junkies, but being a actual play performer, being an actor, being a creative in general. What do you hope people take away from listening to your story? If you want them to learn one thing just from experiencing your story from a viewer perspective, like, what do you think that would be?
Be patient with yourself, and just, I mean, not to quote my D&D video, but, be prepared to fuck up from time to time, and just allow yourself to fuck up from time to time, no matter the size of what kind of actual play or even just home game that you're playing in. Like, you're not, even big things like Critical Role, like they fuck up all the time. They make mistakes. They accidentally miss concentration checks. Like, just, it's fine. And also, like, even if you don't feel like you know what the fuck you're doing, your DM probably doesn't know what the fuck they're doing half the time either. Trust me. Can confirm. And also, it's a collaborative story as well. Like, I think that the best way of putting it as well, that there's no like leading star in a game. Like, it's a collaborative story, and if you do feel like that hey, I want something to say, I want a bit of the limelight, or can we just kind of work on this? Talk with your fucking DM. Like it's like what I said before, don't ask, don't want, don't ask, don't get. Like and it can even like be during a session. I know that I'm still trying to get past the whole thing of like messaging you during a session because I don't want to interrupt and be like, oh. But if you feel like, no, actually, I've got this really good idea in the moment, just be like, hi, I got an idea. Just when you're free, what do you think of this? Or even before a session. I mean, like I say, your DM might be thinking of ideas. You might as well suggest them.
I watched a really fascinating video recently. It was by the guy, I think his name is Thor. He runs Pirate Software. You've most likely seen his shorts on YouTube because he's like one of the few people that's figured out the YouTube algorithm. Like everyone sees his shorts, and he's done videos about that, which you should watch. It's fun. But he did an amazing video about 40 minutes long about how to make a video game. Because he's a video game developer, and he goes through like it stage by stage, and he's like, you can make a video game if you have no experience, if you're no good at making anything to do with video games. Like, you can be a shit programmer, you can be a shit musician. Here's how you still make a video game. But the main point, and the reason why I bring it up, is he makes a great point of like, if you're worried about being shit at something, do it. Because even if it's shit, you're going to learn something by doing it, which means the next time you do it, it's going to be a little bit better. And you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and getting better and better every time. And he used a really good example of like Scott Cawthon, the guy who made the Five Nights at Freddy's video games.
Yeah.
Like, that was his big smash hit sensation. Like, I think he's only made Five Nights at Freddy's games since then because that's, that is his big thing. But before that, he made like hundreds of games. And in the same year he brought out Five Nights at Freddy's, he brought out a game called Fart Hotel. Which is literally a game where you have to guess who farted. It's like such a stupid, silly, pointless game.
Oh my god.
But he kept making games like that until he made Five Nights at Freddy's. So,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, that's definitely something that I've taken on board through my YouTube journey. Like, before I posted my first video, I was like, oh god, yeah, I don't know, should I do it? I look back at my first video, I'm like, okay, it was a good start, but there's so many improvements I could make. And then since my last video, I even like down to the writing, I've kind of managed to stop waffling, which is quite funny because I'm just word vomiting tonight. I've managed to like be able to kind of get to the point quicker in my writing, and in my editing I can do it much quicker now, whereas before it would actually take me like a full week to actually just do the editing point, not just the filming or anything like that. But because I'm also a perfectionist, I'm just like, no, that needs to be moved along. No, I breathed too much in that bit. But yeah, it's just, you learn from every time. You're not going to be an aficionado straight away, you're not gonna know how to play Bach at your first piano lesson. Well,
Mai, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us for this little, I guess, a test run for the QuestCast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know if you did, and we'll do some more. Let us know who in the Quest Junkies universe you want to meet the most, and we might move them up the list, maybe.
Let us know if you want me to come back for a do-over.
No do-overs. But before we wrap up here, please tell us where people can find you and support you in your creative endeavors, aside from QJ. Like, tell us about the YouTube channel and all the things that you do. Hi, I'm Mai, aka Myret the Pirate. You can find me on social media as Myret the Pirate, Mairead, because no one can fucking spell that, or Myret Pirate. As I mentioned quite a lot in this video, I have been focusing a lot on my YouTube. I'm currently trying to hit the first partner milestone. Just trying to have a nice time and making that. I'm also trying to do more guesting on other channels, actual plays and shit like that. But the YouTube and Twitch and other places, that'd be great if you could go check that out. I'm very bad at marketing myself, so help me. It's all good. We will place all the links in the description below. I think that's how it works. Go and support the chosen one, the wonderful Myra, the pirate, our ever-loving pal Heat. Thanks, Mai. This has been fun. It's just been nice just to hang out with you, I guess, amongst everything else.
I feel so lucky.
Yeah. Now I will let you go and finish editing your video. We'll see which comes out first, this one or yours.
Probably this one. I'm not gonna be honest. Although this one's due tomorrow/Tuesday, so.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But yes, thank you everyone so much for watching. All the love to you at home. And I guess if there's anything else left to say, so keep questing, QJs. Goodbye.
Yeah, baby. Bye.